Welcome to Checkbox Games. I'm Ben.
And I'm Erin. We know not all games are for everyone, so we're here to let you know whether a game checks all the right boxes or simply misses the mark.
In this video, we're talking about Moods of the Mad King from Pinebox Entertainment.
Moods of the Mad King is a quick and simple 2 to 4 player card game where players take on the role of a playwright attempting to write an epic play that will appease the moody king.
In this game, the king is given a mood card that is placed face down on the table. The playwrights are giving the remaining moods at random along with a muse card. Players take turns drawing genre cards from the deck and choosing to either add them to their own plays or force them onto their opponent's plays, giving them the ability to play special action cards that can change plays or even moods. At the end of the game, if your play matches the moods of both the king and your muse, you win.
For a more complete look at the rules, check out the gameplay video from the publisher, Pinebox Entertainment, linked below. Now that you know what the game is about, it's time to see if Moods of the Mad King checks our boxes or if this game will end up being a tragedy. So one of my big check boxes for games is I like a game that's quick to learn. I don't want to spend a ton of time, especially because we play so many different new games in our house. I don't want to be only reading rule books for the rest of my life. So this definitely checks that box. This game is quick to learn. It is a very fast and easy way to just get into the game and get going.
Yeah, it is. You put it on the table. It's just cards. You put it on the table and you're playing within minutes.
Yeah, there are 4 types of cards, or I guess 5 types of cards if you count. No, there's 4 types of cards. There's mood cards, muse cards, action cards, genre cards. That's it. 4 types of cards.
There's not a lot of different mechanics or things to pick up. It's a card game. It's kind of that tale as old as time. Pick up a deck of cards, play the game with it.
Yep.
And
draw one, play one. Draw one, play one.
Yeah,
draw one, play 2.
I think that's definitely a huge strength of this game.
Yes.
With that, though, I think comes a weakness and something that did not check my box. I've talked about it before, and I will not stop talking about it. A good rule book is very important to me, and I think to a lot of players. And this game does not, in my opinion, does not have a good rule book. This game is, the rule book is cards. So the rule book is on these different cards that are double-sided and they're marked 1 to 6. And in my head, I'm thinking, I don't know, this could have easily been a small rule book, a tiny pamphlet rule book. I've seen games smaller than this that have a rule book, that have something bound. It was just hard to know, like you had to keep track of, okay, wait, this one goes first, the numbers are kind of small in the corner, they were all getting mixed around, and I'm like, I don't know why this wasn't a book.
Definitely the numbered cards front and back is not great for like anxiety brain.
Yeah.
It definitely, I got a little stressed out.
Yeah.
And it's easy to lose one card too, then,
And also there were just, I don't know, I think it was very small because it's like, hey, everything is on the cards, but we still had questions. We still tried to play and we were just like, wait, what does this rule mean?
Or there was a couple times where we were like, okay, in this very specific circumstance, is this okay? And because this is a preview game, we had no way of like going online to check it out.
Yeah.
And the rules, there was no like FAQs.
I think that's a big thing, is especially it being like a new game that we're seeing as some of the first people seeing it, is we just had questions and there was no like, no, in this specific circumstance, here's how to play it. And it just left us having to kind of make up house rules and be like, I guess this is how you play it. I don't know. So I don't know. I just feel like the rule book could have been more complete and could have really like helped make sure you had no questions whatsoever and still maintain that like brevity, smallness. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
That's a fair assessment. All right. What do you got next?
So while I while I know that it's not going to be like the next big thing for everyone who loves deduction games, a checkbox this gives for me is I think this is a perfect introduction to deduction games.
Introduction.
It's an intro deduction game.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, because that's the whole game. The whole game is there's a card face down that is the King's Mood card, and you are trying to figure out what that is by looking at the mood cards you have, knowing that there are 5 mood cards, and your opponent has, when we played it as 2-player, your opponent has 2, you have 2, and there's 1 face down. So you have to think, okay, what don't I have? What do they not get rid of each turn? What are they holding on to? Maybe that's what they have, or maybe that's what they think it is. What are they getting rid of? That's probably what they have.
Yeah.
And so it's a good deduction, because also those action cards can manipulate what's there. You can replace, some of them will let you like replace one of your moods with the mood that's face down, so now you know what it was, or like what it is now. And so it's not going to be, I think about like my mother who's a non-gamer. I'm able to teach her this deduction game, but I'm not going to try to break out Mysterium or Obscurio or
right out the gate.
Yeah, those bigger deduction games, I'm not going to try to break those out, but I think I could bring this to the table and she could learn it and have a good time with the deduction game.
I agree. And the deduction to me reminds me a lot of the game Love Letter, another small card game where you know what's in your hand, you know what you've seen, and so you try to deduce, what the other player has in their hand because of that. Which leads me to my next checkbox. I love a game that's scalable, especially down to 2 players. We talked about that 100 times. And just like Love Letter, this game isn't super scalable down to 2 players because, like Ben said, there are 5 mood cards. The king has 1, I have 2, Ben has 2. It was very fast. It took me about 2 plays to know exactly what was in Ben's hand. And so because of that, I was like, well, okay, cool. I know what to do. I can win this game at the end. And there are some action cards that kind of change that up, but unfortunately, it wasn't enough to like make it more difficult for me. So I think it would be very difficult to get it that quickly with a 4-player game or even a 3-player game. But with 2 players, it was for sure super simple to do the deduction. So it's not quite as scalable as I would like it to be.
I think the scalability really it really hurt the deduction of it. I think because it was so easy to figure it out, I kept my muse cards and my mood cards that I needed. I just never moved them. I just replaced the 3rd card that I didn't need every time because I knew it right away.
Yeah.
And so then it stopped being a deduction game and just became a overcome the take that until the game ends and try to still have the cards. You were just like, now I just have to maintain. I don't have to figure anything out. I think that hurt the main pull of the game, which is the deduction element.
My next checkbox is I love a game that has independent scoring. And what I mean by that is I love a game where my success or failure is not changed by the success or failure of other players. This isn't a game where if Ben wins, I lose, or if Ben loses, I win. In this game, we can both win, we can both lose. One of us can win, one of us can lose. Your fate and your success in the game is purely based on what you have done in the game. There is, like he said, a take that element in it, so you can impede other players during the game, but at the end of the game, whether you win or lose all depends on what the play that you produced is. And I love a game that lets me win on my own terms. And it's not just based on something else.
And I think this would be great. That's why I think this would be great for non-gamers or kids, is that element of everyone could win. If everyone meets their goals, everybody wins. And I think that's great for playing a card game with kids.
Yeah.
Is you don't have to worry about that they're the only one who lost, right?
Our very first playthrough, we both won, and it was, you know, you're like, oh yay, we did it. We shared the victory. We're both good playwrights.
The other thing that I think is very strong about this game is that really gets a checkbox for me is the portability. As people, you know, start traveling more, having games like small games like this that you can throw in a backpack, that you can throw into luggage, that you can take over to grandparents and parents' houses. This is a small package. This is the full size of the package here. It's like my hand for scale. This is the whole thing. And it's all cards. You can just take the cards out. There's no real setup. You just put them in their separate decks, and then you start playing. And I think this overcomes a lot of the barriers of getting a game to the table is there's not a large footprint. You can have it anytime someone's like, hey, you guys want to play a game? You can just go, yep, I have it right here. Let's play. And I think that just adds a lot of value to this game is even if you don't think it's the strongest game, it's a game that you could pull out and play anytime.
Yeah. And it's such a fast play. This is a game I like to call like an airport game. Where you have it in your carry-on and your flight's not going to board for 15 minutes. You can play 2 hands of this in 15 minutes. Like, it's so fast. It's so quick. Setup takes nothing. Cleanup is nothing. And so because of that, it's not just portable in size, it's portable in game.
So now let's look at the final checkbox. Does Moods of the Mad King get a check mark?
I think this one gets a check, a very specific check though. This isn't a game we're going to pull out a ton for the two of us to play. This is a game that we are going to take to family gatherings. This is a game we might throw in our bag for vacation. This is a game we might bring to a friend's house.
It's something my students can play when we have a down day. It's something I can take to my classroom and my students can play.
Yes, this serves a great need. And if someone is nervous about deduction games, because I love deduction games so much and I want to get them to play it, this is how I will start them out. Something nice, low impact to get their confidence up. And I think this definitely gets a check. So if you like a game that is easy to learn, if you like a game that is easy to teach, and if you like a game with a fresh theme, then this will definitely check your boxes.